Welcome in K-State Online, Mason Voth, Drew Galloway. It's KSO Postgame Live, just after 10 o'clock here in the right time zone. If you're in the incorrect ones, it could be 9, it could be 8, it could be 11. That's where K-State is after wrapping up a 59-54 loss to West Virginia. Oh, man, this team just continues to impress in a bad way, of course. It is quite comical, though, given what we have come to expect from this team, that they're in this position and that they continue to find ways, I don't know, just to dig even deeper into this hole that the program seems to be in right now. Tonight was another new low. If you were around for any of the discourse throughout the day on KSO, the way the game closed out was just hilariously poetic, with PJ Haggerty getting an opportunity and showing that the only thing he cared about was getting to the free throw line. And of course, that not tending to work out pretty well, because when you're hunting for fouls, you're typically not looking to make shots, and shots aren't always going to fall, as we have seen there. And that's why we end up in this spot. 59-54, the final. K-State now back to under 500 overall. They are 1-7 in Big 12 play. They are already getting dangerously close to locking up a scenario in which they're not even going to be able to mathematically finish above 500 in league play. And they just lost to a West Virginia team who is not very good. I mean, they're 14-7 and 5-3 in the league. Shame on the 4 other teams that lost to West Virginia this year. I mean, my goodness, this team is that's pathetic. And I knew it going into this game that West Virginia
Uh,
was a pathetic team.
West Virginia beat KU by double digits with Darren Peterson. I would love to know how that happened. Like
Yeah,
that is that might be the flukiest result of Big 12 season. When we look back, is that West Virginia was able to beat KU by double digits with Peterson.
Yeah, that's it's fascinating. I mean, the team that that KU was at that time, they're a little different now. And I mean, look, West Virginia has some things, and Ross Hodge is part of a system that's proven to work. It's just not the prettiest. And you made the point during the game, like he's going to have to learn to adjust, just like another North Texas coach has had to in Grant McCaslin, and it's worked out pretty darn well for him in Texas Tech. So maybe that's where West Virginia eventually gets to. But not a pretty game tonight for either of these teams. West Virginia just so happens to not be a god awful team, so
They're,
they were able to find their way through it.
they are just a decent team. They're a team that is going to make some noise in the crown, maybe, if they choose to play. But like
Yeah,
they are like everything you would want from a Bruce Weber type team. Like it was slow pace, it was not scoring in the half court, it was droughts, and somehow K-State couldn't do anything with it. West Virginia had a point where they went 7 minutes without scoring in the second half, and K-State went from down 4 to up 4. And then in the first half, K-State held West Virginia to 5 points in the first 12 minutes, and we're only at 8. Like it was such a gross game that like there were points where it was comical, and I'm sure that we'll get into a lot of those because there was more times where I was like laughing during the game on the inside because I couldn't believe what I was watching that I think any basketball game in recent memory. Um, but yeah, I mean, you felt like it was kind of over when West Virginia started so bad from the field in case they couldn't do anything. And how you know that this is just a straight up terrible team is if it's not one thing, it's another thing. Like tonight, they play the best offense of the season by far, but it's also coupled with easily the worst offensive performance that they could have played all year. Like it, and then you know, in that stretch, K State is up 4 with 3:26 to go, and they went from up 4 to down 5 about as quick as I've ever seen a team in the last 4 minutes. Like it was all kinds of gross, and I I don't really have a whole lot to say about this game, like breaking it down, other than holy moly, was that as bad as it gets?
I mean, I think this team can find a way to make it worse. I think this team can go out and lose by 40 on Sunday against Iowa State. Like,
Okay,
I wouldn't
th-
rule it out.
they could lose by 40 on Sunday, and I think that this might be worse. And maybe it's
I don't.
because and maybe it's because I'm like thinking back to this has to feel like watching West Virginia. This has to feel like what some teams did when they lost to the bad Bruce teams of like how in the heck did we lose to them? Because I if West Virginia is anywhere near the bubble come selection Sunday, like that will show how bad the bubble could be.
So let's just, for the reference of all this, because I think it'll be interesting. Let's go find a comparable game. Maybe that 17-18 season against West Virginia, just for the looks. Well, I don't know that we're going to get a great one. 16-17 had a great West Virginia game at home that I was a part of. You can't even find Bruce teams that were like this against West Virginia. The score the scores for those, they beat West Virginia at home 79-75. Blackout
The,
game my freshman year, number 7 West Virginia.
the,
And then 85-66 they lost on the road. So you can't even get to that. I was going to say go look at those, but what you would probably find is that like the shooting percentages would be far better, because that's the thing with this game is that you look at it and it's like nobody shot the ball well. K-State was under 40%. The 3-point shooting, 32 is not a good number. 29 is a terrible number. And then nobody was getting to the free throw line. Like, this was just a matter of teams were bad at basketball tonight. This wasn't like this is the style we want to play. This is just, we're not good enough to play real basketball.
do you know what this game kind of felt like? This game kind of felt like a Bruce versus Georgia game. Like in the Big 12 SEC Challenge,
Mm.
where
They
Mark
always
Fox
seem
would be on the
they
other
always seem to
sideline,
play Georgia for some reason.
and it would be like
Georgia or
40,
Tennessee.
and it'd be 49-45 would be the final score. Like
Yeah, okay, here you go. 2018 Big 12 SEC Challenge. This was a Jan Mayton and Nick Claxton in Manhattan against K-State. 56-51 was the final score of that game for K-State. Hilariously, field goal percentage is 38-37. 3-point percentage in that game, 21 for K-State, 11 for Georgia. But K-State was 17 of 19 at the free throw line, and that's how they ended up winning the game. And that's kind of the point. The difference here is that team was driving and trying to get to the lane, and they were doing some things, and we didn't see any of that tonight from K-State. That's why they only shoot 4 free throws, and that's also why PJ Haggerty's just not going to get those foul calls at the end of the game like he's begging for and hunting for. I know that there's not a ton of like direct game related stuff that we necessarily want to talk about, but I think some of it is going to drive the conversation forward and at least plays into some of this. And we'll get to some of the comments. Great comment section tonight. So shout out to the folks that are putting up with this season and hopping in the chat. We always appreciate it. We'll get to them soon. But there are a handful of things that took place in this game tonight that, are bigger picture items. Now, one of those that I would say, and probably the most notable, going to be the most controversial from this game, from a fan base that has no reason to still be watching these games, but are because they love the Cats and they love K-State. They certainly don't love the current regime in charge of the program and the way that things are heading. But I think there are a lot of people that are going to say, why are you choosing to foul when you have fouls to give with almost 38 seconds left? And again, math, shot clock, 30 seconds. So if you go and get a stop against the team, let's check it again, that was shooting 29% from 3. And in that situation, when they're running clock, more likely than not, West Virginia was probably going to take a 3 or a long shot. Why would you not just play out the possession and then get the ball with 7 seconds to go the length of the court, get your 3? Now, K-State ends up fouling, and it fortunately worked out for them because West Virginia did miss the front end of a free throw. But again, if they make that first one, then you're just in purgatory the rest of the game, because that becomes a story for the last 25 seconds of game time, is that it's foul, free throw. K-State goes and does something, foul, free throw. K-State does a foul, free throw. It just keeps repeating, as opposed to, bringing this thing down. And I think ultimately, over many choices would have given you a better option. I would have let it play out. I think K-State should have, with that much time on the clock. I think a lot of coaches would have made the decision to let things play out with that much time on the clock. KSU fan not with us tonight. He made the wise decision to go to bed because he has a real job in the morning and he doesn't need to waste his time and sleep on this team. Got his opinion, though, so we had it, and he said he would have let it play out and that K-State got bailed out because West Virginia did miss the front end of the free throw. So what did you make of that decision at the end, Drew?
I think that I probably would have let it play out, or at least try and get a trap more than what K-State tried to do. Like, that's what is confusing about that, is like they weren't even really trying to get a steal. It was all like, okay, let's go foul. And I'm kind of confused by that decision, because at that point, because of the hilarious jump ball call that led to West Virginia taking the lead, K-State had the possession arrow. Like, why do you not at least try to get a steal, get a trap, do something other than just, okay, they're going to inbound it, let's foul? And so I would have at least tried something else, because, like you said, if West Virginia makes the free throw, it's because the argument here is, okay, if you get a stop, there's only 7 seconds left. If they make it with like 3 on the shot clock, it's over. It's also over if West Virginia just makes the front end of the 1-and-1. So like it's all kind of the same thing. And I think that you're better off trying to get a stop than banking on a missed free throw, especially because you got a missed free throw by an 80% free throw shooter on the year. So I at least would have tried to get a steal more than what K-State tried. But
Yeah, that was the weird part too, is that you're not
yeah,
even using it to be aggressive and trying to poke the ball free. It was just straight up, hey, we're gonna foul now.
that's what makes that decision making so odd and just frustrating and annoying, and makes you feel like, again, that this staff doesn't have a real good feel for the game and how it should play out. Because I'll just jump into it right now, because your team let it play out too. So I mean, it's like that's probably how it should have gone. But we can also talk about how at after timeouts, when K-State had the ball,
I mean,
they ran some of the worst offensive sets that you could possibly run at this level. My personal favorite is after a media timeout in the first half. K-State has 10 seconds left on the shot clock, still has the ball. They throw it in, and somehow you don't even get a shot up. And it's not because it was blocked. It was because you had two guys, David Castillo and PJ Haggerty, on the floor that didn't know how much time was on the shot clock. Like,
yeah, that's so bad. And like I don't even know, you blame the players there, but also like if both guys are that unaware of the shot clock, like if it's one guy, then yeah, I'm going to say, oh, he's an idiot. What is he doing? When it's two guys, I have to think that it has to be something to do with the coaching that was being given to them. Or, at the very least, like it's pretty standard to remind the situation that you have going on there. Like out of a timeout, it would be no different than somebody going, for a mound visit. And, right before it gets done, you know what you're going to do? You're going to get a reset and you're going to know that, okay, hey, when we come out of here, it's a 3-1 count. So like, I'm aware of that and all that. That's where like, yeah, Haggerty and Castillo have to be better, and you always have to know. And I don't think it's that hard to know what's going on the shot clock. But I also just, when it's two guys, and maybe it would have been more if they had touched the ball. That's another coaching thing.
and I think that's where, again, all this frustration just goes back to, is like it is a coaching thing. It is a not really having a feel for when to do certain things. Like, why is CJ Jones in after a timeout when you need a bucket and he shoots a three that went over the rim on the baseline? Like, there's a lot of things that I don't really understand how
Well,
they still continually happen.
so when you talk out of timeout and all these situations, we've had other moments in the last couple of weeks where we've pointed out just how odd the outcome of certain moments are to start games. I think you or Fan made the reference when we were talking during the game, and it was that the last 4 games, it feels like the first shot of every game's gone to Taj Manning, which, look, if it's a wide open dunk or something, that's fine, but he's been starting games with threes on the first possession for K-State. And so that's one of those where you go, that doesn't really add up. And then they come out of a timeout late where it's a close game and they get it into Taj Manning instead of somebody else. And that's an issue where, look, we've talked a lot about Taj Manning and what he is and isn't. And in a normal setting for a team that wants to win games at a high level in the Big 12, Taj Manning really isn't playing that much. He's serving what we thought, if he was actually playing the Moby Ike Garuka role would be, and he'd be a 5 to 10 minute guy after a few years in the program. He plays hard. He's going to give you his all. He's limited in some ways, but he gets the ball in that situation. Of course, it goes predictably. He loses it, and K-State has to go into foul mode and everything. And you get really confused by those types of moves for K-State. And then there's just so many other instances like you've talked about where they come out of these timeouts, they look clueless. And I'll bring up one of the comments now. Because this was from a couple of people. Mutated Pigeon said, ever notice how our play calls each year are just as good as our point guard's basketball IQ? I don't think that's a coincidence. And then Cody says, so this is Marquise Noel's fault because he was the one that had Gene Taylor hire Tang. So why I bring up those two specifically is to note that, look, you're kind of right here in that we saw with Marquise Noel and then having a great 1B and Keontae Johnson, who you could argue was actually the 1A, but Noel was the facilitator. Those guys could make plays out of it because they had a connection there and they had just this innate feel and knowledge of the situation and how basketball worked and all that, and they could make those plays with each other. The teams after that clearly don't, and this team has and the staff has not been able to show that they can get guys up to that speed. And look, I very early on in that second season under Jerome Tang, after their loss to Nebraska at home, that was really, really bad. And honestly, I think you can make the case that it was the most embarrassing loss of the Tang era when, you get housed at home by Nebraska. There's these go big red chants going throughout Bramlage as the game is winding down. And I asked him about the low basketball IQ on the team, or, just something to the effect of if he valued that or if there was anything that he noticed on that. And he kind of shooed it away like he does most of the questions that I've ever asked him. But it's so clear that this team lacks it and has for the last couple of years. And it goes into A, the coaching that they're getting, but B, the players that are being brought into the program. And we have now seen with how the last few years have played out that they're not bringing the right type of guys into this program that can actually make some things happen. They were very fortunate that first year, and we've laid it out where the more time we get and more instances where we can see how they build a team, we can confirm that it was an anomaly what happened in year one, and that they were indeed lucky that Bruce Weber brought Marquise Noel into the program and that he stayed, that they were lucky that they were one of only maybe one teams that at this level that were going to be comfortable with allowing Keontae Johnson to play college basketball. They were lucky that nobody had ever heard of Naquan Tomlin and that he didn't do something stupid in that first year to get kicked off the team. They were lucky that Desi Sills fit perfectly with the other guys on this team to do something. They were lucky that Ish Massoud stuck around because they were just going to kick him to the curb the next season in some absurd manner because they thought they could upgrade. Newsflash, they couldn't. And when you talk about upgrading, here we sit. They couldn't upgrade, and they let C.J. Jones come back from the portal. He's playing too much. He's not good. Taj Manning I have no problem with Taj Manning being on the K-State basketball team. He can stay as long as he wants. He shouldn't be playing 30 minutes a game in Big 12 play, but he is because of Jerome Tang and his staff and what they've built from a roster perspective. But yes, in some very odd way, Cody, this is Marquise Noel's fault, because if it doesn't work out so perfectly and the luck doesn't fall into place, K-State doesn't go to the Elite Eight in year one. They are a not very good team, like they were meant to be, coming off of those 3 final years of Bruce Weber. And you don't win big. Tang doesn't win National Coach of the Year, so it's not built up to be this big thing. And K-State hasn't made the NCAA tournament. And you know what that means? He doesn't get a new contract after year one. He doesn't get a new contract after year two from the Arkansas interest. And you're able to fire him pretty darn easy after this year and reset the program and try to get somebody in here that is actually going to be able to get K-State basketball to the level that the program deserves to be at.
Yeah, it's really bad right now. Like, there's no way that it can get better under this regime, I think. Like, we're getting really close to that point. It also is just funny because he does so many things when he's out there that it makes you feel like he's playing so much. But CJ Jones somehow played the least of any K-State player tonight. But I think I could tell you all 5 shots that he took because it felt like all 5 of them came at such a like weird time. I saw somebody else point this out, and I had some friends text me about this. I'll tell you which comment to go to as I scroll up here. It was one about the rotations at the end of the game and why Doreen Buka wasn't out there at the end. Whoever posted that knows ball, and I was thinking the same thing of like, you're just trying to make sure that West Virginia doesn't get a bucket. Why is your only rim protection not in the game? Like, you can't tell me that CJ Jones was more valuable on the court than Doreen Buka, who at least had 3 blocks tonight in a situation where they really needed it. So it is just unbelievable that this is the level that it's came to. And we don't need to talk down what K-State basketball is and can still be going forward. Probably not with this staff, but I saw some discourse about like why would a good coach come to K-State? The last 3 coaches at K-State made an Elite Eight and did that in a 12-year stretch. I think that is something that not a lot of programs can say. So it will be an attractive job when it becomes open. When will it become open? I don't know, but it's hard.
And there's only in the last 20 years, there's only 4 teams in the Big 12, this great basketball conference, that have won it twice, and it's Kansas, and it's Houston, and it's Baylor, and it's K-State. So like, that's where the historical nature of the job is there. From like, we know K-State, basically until Bill Snyder arrived and they took a little hiatus focusing on building up football, and then Bob Huggins revived it, and Frank Martin, and then Bruce, and all this. Like, so you have all of that built into it. But then, like you're saying, last 3 coaches have gone to an Elite Eight. The Big 12 titles have come to K-State in basketball more than any other school outside of Kansas, who obviously runs the Big 12, and then now Houston, who's taking over in it. And on top of that, Jerome Tang, who has not made the NCAA tournament in 2 going on 3 years now, has been getting elite level funding for his roster in this age of NIL. That would be really attractive to a lot of coaches. Like, there are teams that and places throughout the country that some would think would be better options than K-State that are not right now because of the ability to get NIL resources. So this would be an attractive job to people. And look, it's going to continue to probably catch the eye of those whenever it does come open, because you have a lot of things working in your favor, and because you have a fan base that cares about it. Like, this isn't Oklahoma State where they're having to curtain off the arena even when they've got a team that's winning games. Like, if K-State was Oklahoma State right now, Bramlage would be full. and
Yes.
people would be excited. And it would feel like what we do after every game matters,
We,
but
we
it
still
doesn't
don't
matter right now.
we still don't think that they're necessarily very good, but if K-State was even what UCF was doing this
UCF,
year,
West Virginia,
it
like
would be
any of
football.
these people would be engaged at a high level. And obviously, you can tell by the 226 people watching this live right now at 10:30 on a Tuesday night with a crappy basketball team, and the amount of people that are engaged over on KSO and on social media. Like, people really, really care about this product and this program. So yeah, there's a lot to go off of there on why this would be attractive enough. A couple of the other things to get into from the game specifically, a lot of people asking about PJ Haggerty because Tom brought up the lack of basketball IQ on this team is astonishing. We've touched on that a little bit. Our favorite detective said possibly the worst in-game execution I have seen. What is PJ doing? Well, we kind of know what PJ is doing, and it's that he's hunting for a foul. He also said PJ needs to understand that refs know the type of player he is and aren't going to buy his flopping. The sooner he realizes that, the better. Yes, I would agree with that, and we've discussed that at times where I think these refs are well aware of what he's trying to do. And in college basketball, like, they're just not going to oblige to you. That's not the type of product. And I think this also stems to, like, Jerome Tang, and we've talked about it before. There seems to be some type of reputation where I don't think the officials greatly appreciate it. And I think some of the evidence to back that up would be the technical foul that Kip Kissinger gave him on Saturday against Kansas. I'm not saying that what he did wasn't worthy of a technical foul, but the mechanics and the optics of that situation where Kip Kissinger's on the total opposite end of the floor and he's not even talking to Kip, and that's who ends up teeing him up and not the ref that was closest to him, again would lead me to believe, and we've seen this with some other officials that get into it or give a technical out to Jerome Tang, that I think that there is probably a reputation where they find K-State difficult to deal with, or and for whatever reason don't want to give them benefit of the doubt. And tonight, PJ Haggerty's game plan at the end being to draw fouls when you need a three of all things is confounding. But it adds up. Like, PJ Haggerty, that's the type of player he is. All he wants to do is hunt for fouls. That's his number one goal out there. And we know that Jerome Tang's in-game strategy for going on a couple of years now has been, let's hope that we draw a foul and we go to the free throw line. So it's a match made in heaven. And I will also say on this, on the possession coming down the floor after K-State was able to get the missed free throw that they were playing for from West Virginia, PJ Haggerty drives himself into trouble once again, something he's been doing a lot the last couple of weeks. And CJ Jones isn't on the floor this time. This is not the end of the first half against KU where you have one of your worst offensive options on the floor. He had other viable options to share the ball to that could have taken a shot.
Nate Johnson was wide open, like right beside Haggerty, and Johnson made 3 of his 5 threes tonight, which he's been shooting the ball a lot better recently, but like that's wide open for the tie instead of driving it into traffic with 3 West Virginia players around and trying to draw a foul when you're down 3.
Well, and
At
like,
that
this goes
point,
back to the basketball IQ thing where it's just give the ball up there, and all this talk about Haggerty and what he is and what he isn't, and what his problems actually are and aren't. Like, that to me shows a serious flaw in how he's playing right now. And, like, it worked against Utah because he was so efficient. But as I have highlighted down there, he's a guard shooting 33% in his last 2 games, and it's not like he takes a ton of threes. So it's not being weighed down heavily because of that. He's missing a lot of shots in the lane because he's trying to draw fouls, and he's getting himself in a position where he's taking a lot of bad shots. Another thing that I will point out in here tonight, and I'll pull up the numbers on it to highlight it, is that West Virginia ends up with 6 steals in the game and 3 blocks, things that they're typically not very good at as a team. And a lot of that, I think, derives from the positions that Haggerty put this team into. He's not being a good point guard right now.
No, the offense, for whatever it is, runs better when Nate Johnson or David Castillo is the one that's handling the ball. And it gives Haggerty a little bit of a break because I think that what we're just seeing is that he is not built to be a point guard at this level. He needs somebody else to run the show and take control because the offense just flows so much better, especially when it's in Nate Johnson's hands. Actually, I mean, he had 4 assists tonight. He had, I think, 4 or 5 assists against KU. Had a handful of assists against Utah. Like when they're getting the ball in his hands, I still want more from Nate Johnson because I want him not only just taking 9 shots, but he's been having like a couple complete games in a row for whatever that's worth at this stage of the season. But like, I think that is some of Haggerty's issues, and why I think that he struggles so much in the first half is that he tries so hard to be a point guard and to get everybody else involved. When if you had Haggerty or if you had Haggerty off the ball and had Johnson or you had Castillo running the point, maybe you get a little bit more out of Haggerty in the first half than you typically do. But if you're making that adjustment 22 games now into a season, like it took you way too long to figure that out.
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot where we know they're not adjusting, and also they just don't have a ton of a wiggle room to adjust because of how bad of a situation they've put themselves in, and what they've kind of built here. A couple of the other things to get into, just to get knocked out, answer any of the questions that are there. Why is Stephen Osei redshirting? We played him early, so his injury is clearly improved, and we need the hype bad. Don't tell me it's a skill issue. We played Marcus Johnson. Hey, Marcus Johnson, for some reason, didn't play tonight. He gets to be the first off the bench against Oklahoma State and KU, but he doesn't play in other games. Again, we've talked about it before. This is Drew Carey from Whose Line Is It Anyway is coaching K-State basketball right now. Everything's made up and the points don't matter. Nothing stays the same. There's no rhyme or reason to it. And look, I've also said that I think the Stephen Osei thing is really stupid. He's not going to get a red shirt. He played in 3 games this year. It is cut and dry. Do not think that you can skirt around the NCAA because this program has already failed at it with Tyreek Smith. So, yeah, I don't know what the situation is there with Stephen Osei. And if you're asking about other guys, like Pop, who says, but what's going on with Moby and Elias? Why would them of all guys be in the doghouse? Well, again, can't speak to all the situations. We know that the Elias Rapiak situation is actually injury health related, along with Kamari McGriff, where there's actual
and Abdi
reason.
Bashir.
And Abdi Bashir, who, again, HIPAA was not apparently a problem for Abdi Bashir when Jerome Tang told the CBS crew that he had foot surgery and was going to be out for a specific amount of time. The Moby situation, I think I don't think that has anything to do with health. I'm in fact fairly certain it has nothing to do with health. And it goes to the lack of transparency that's been with this program, and why, the drama just follows what goes on with this team since, the second year of the program, where you can go back to the video incident in Hilton, and that really started everything, where when things aren't going well for this team and this staff, they don't handle it very well. And it's when things are going easy, it's really, this staff really likes the limelight and to do what went down in year one in the NCAA tournament run and everything. But it reminds me, so growing up, this is like a core memory for me. Growing up, we had one of the pastors at our church. She was a nice enough lady, and she went on one of our mission trips with us. It would have been my sophomore year of high school, I think, or freshman. Yeah, after my freshman year of high school. And things going well, whatever. But then she had a sticker on the back of her phone that it was like the red slash, and it said drama. So it was like, she's not about the drama. But then it was like, when inevitably a bunch of middle school and high school girls were getting into it and not happy with each other over a week away from home, and there was drama, for some reason, she was in the middle of it all. And it was like, oh, well, the drama does tend to kind of follow her. And it's like, that's where K State is right now. It's like, you want the good. And when everything is good, it seems normal, seems fine. But when it's bad, then it's like, oh, this is a real problem and they're a part of it. And I think that the whole guys being out and not getting clear answers on that, it just adds to the problems with this team that are already going on.
Yeah, I mean, I said it on Saturday that I think that the problem goes all the way back to the Naquan Tomlin stuff and how they handled all that and it all went down. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I saw somebody ask if this team was just badly constructed as a roster. Yes. It was poorly. The poor construction actually started last year when they took Tyreek Smith because that stunted the amount of bigs and quality bigs that they took because they were banking that Tyreek Smith would somehow be eligible, and he wasn't. And thank God they went out and found Doreen Buka because if they didn't, like this really would be like Taj and Marcus Johnson right now playing at the 4 and 5 for 30 plus minutes a night. Like that, it would be about as bad as it gets. It's just poor roster construction. It's been poor roster construction the last handful of years. Last year was too many bigs on the roster that were terrible. This year there's not enough bigs because the bigs that they have. McGriff has been a pleasant surprise when he's been able to be on the field or on the court and has not been in foul trouble. But Rapiak has been a disappointment. Buka has been better than we thought, but is probably not Big 12 starter quality, at least right now. And then Taj is what he is, and like he's been an awesome story seeing him play more, but he's playing more because he has to, not because the team is like really good and he's this guy coming in for like 5 to 10 minutes off the bench and is getting a lot of loose balls and rebounds and everything. It's like, no, he's playing almost 30 minutes a night recently because he has to and there's no other option. And I mean, he's still rebounding really well. He was one of the only guys out there that was rebounding, period, today. But there are just points where like he is just so limited that it hurts them on offense because he doesn't have much of an offensive game, but he has a game actually very similar to mine, where it's a lot of hustle and a lot of defense, and you occasionally hit a shot if you're open. But then other than that, like you're just out there to hustle. But it's just very dark right now, and I don't know how much longer it can go on because it could get real nasty coming up. I mean, this was the easier part of K-State's schedule, and they're now 1-7 in the Big 12.
Yeah, that's really, and it's a great point by you because we talked early on about the situation that this team was going to be in, and it was, well, hey, the start to Big 12 play, you can kind of ease into it. We knew that first 3-game stretch was going to be difficult. Really, it was the first 2 games. Arizona State's not tough, and going on the road there, as Bobby Hurley pointed out, is not a difficult thing to do. But starting with BYU and Arizona back to back, who just played an awesome game last night, okay, whatever. But outside of that, like everything should have been nice. Everybody was a beatable team, which, by the way, how we saw K-State play in those games, it kind of proved that every team was beatable. And then Kansas at home, look, they've turned the corner and they're playing far better right now. And K-State had injuries start to pile up too, and KU was without Darren Peterson, so we realized that there was a lot of stuff going on and playing into that game. But no matter how you slice it, we saw 2 bad K-State teams the last 2 years beat Kansas under Jerome Tang, and we obviously know what happened in the first year. So, like, and we also have evidence of bad Bruce teams that beat Kansas in Manhattan. So, because of the nature of that game, like that would have been a gettable game for you. Obviously, tonight, West Virginia is not a very good team. Gettable. And then Iowa State going to be a little bit tougher, but again, it's a home game, and we have also seen Jerome Tang teams that are not capable of winning at a high level still pulling off wins against Iowa State. They did it in Hilton last year in blowout fashion. So you're right. Like that's something to not get lost in all this, is that the schedule's not gotten truly difficult for K-State yet. Yes, they have played some of the trickier teams on the schedule, like BYU and Arizona and KU, but you still have to play at Houston, at Texas Tech, at Kansas. That's not great. Iowa State coming up on Sunday. Like, you have 4 of the 5 toughest teams left to play in the Big 12 on your schedule, and 3 of those games are on the road. Like, this team, it's going to get way worse for this team. I mean, we should be concerned about what's going to be the final score of that Houston game for K-State. It's probably going to rival some of the Baylor COVID year scores that K-State had.
And Iowa State might be a home game on Sunday, but that could be a nasty crowd after starting 1-7 in the Big 12 and Iowa State having a good year. There could be a lot of clones there on the secondary
Oh,
market.
I could only imagine. Yeah, that'll be a fun time.
And then, like, I'm looking at the schedule right now. If you have to make a prediction of how many wins K-State has in Big 12 play right now, what are you saying?
I mean, I think right now I have to say 2. I just there's so much that can change in the sport of basketball that I think them losing every game the rest of the way. There's enough talent on this team that I think that's close to impossible. Now this team is getting closer to making that seem like it's a reality, and it could actually happen. But I think you say 2 at this point in time, because to the point that KSU fan made in the game thread, and it was bad teams find ways to lose games, which is an avenue that I go down quite a bit with my thoughts, and I agree with that. And I understand that some of these have been road games that they've lost by close margins: Arizona State, Oklahoma State, and West Virginia. But like, it wasn't the road environment that made that happen. I don't think the road environment had anything to do with it. And so when you do play Cincinnati at home, who isn't very good, Baylor, who's at home and not very good, TCU and West Virginia, who will be at home and aren't very good, Colorado on the road, like, I just tend to see teams that I think are going to probably perform better than K-State. And certainly if they're not at full strength, you're going to be hurting. We know, like, missing Kamari McGriff, maybe it helps them tonight, and maybe it makes a difference. As Carl points out, like, he likes what McGriff is given. We've liked what McGriff is given. It's unfortunate that he's out of eligibility after this year. That would be a guy that, with the right type of team around him, you'd like back next season. But I think it's probably 2 wins right now. If you're 1-7 with the schedule that they just played, there should be really no reason to think that they're going to be able to achieve much more. They are most certainly not getting to 5 conference wins this year.
No.
I'm confident in that.
The margin of error that they have is so thin, and it's especially so thin when they just don't have the horses and they don't have a full roster. But it's hard to see them winning more than 2 games. Like, with how bad I think that a handful of the teams coming up are, I think that K-State ends Big 12 play with 3 wins. Like, Cincinnati at home, Baylor at home, TCU at home, West Virginia at home. They can find a way to win 2 of those, I think, because those teams are so bad.
I mean, yeah, they could
If
find it.
they can find a way to win it, they can also find a way to lose it, because they've done that a lot. But
Yeah.
like, those are the 4 games that, like, if you think that they're going to win, that's what you'd point out of the 4.
I think if they're going to do it, I think they have to beat Baylor, because I think that's a team that's pretty lost. And you're going to,
Baylor might be the one team that is more lost than K-State right now.
Yeah, relative to what expectations should be and roster and all that. Yeah, I would probably agree with that. And look, this West Virginia team in year one, I think there's some buy-in. They're probably going to be fighting, and where they sit right now, the record's probably going to be good enough for West Virginia when they come late. They're going to be talking themselves into, hey, maybe we still have a chance at making the tournament. They'll be motivated. Pop also said, have you noticed that literally every other Big 12 team runs plays through their bigs? I can't remember the last time a big caught the ball down low intentionally. That just plays into what we've talked about. The roster construction's poor. You don't have a ton of options there, and certainly right now with the injuries, there's just no way to do it. But yeah,
TCU also lost to Utah. TCU is a bad team. Their record is better than K-State. They're a bad team. they're 4-3 in the Big 12 with a loss to Utah. That should get you eliminated from postseason play. And if you're not in postseason play, you're a bad basketball team.
I'm confused on what we're talking about right now.
There's I saw a comment that said that TCU is not bad.
Yeah.
TCU is bad.
Yeah, the TCU is not good. No, 13-7, who cares? Their wins in Big 12 play are Baylor,
twice,
and Oklahoma State.
Yeah, that's not a good team.
Yeah, and they lost to Utah, by the way. So yeah. They've played some weird teams close, but guess what? They lost those games. And honestly, that the way they lost to KU should disqualify them from any conversation about being good, because any team that's below average, I think, hangs on to win that game given the circumstances that they were given. So yeah, we'll see how this thing ends up progressing from there. A couple of the other things to get into. Let's see. Tom had a couple, and the first one was Bruce Weber's teams would beat this team by 15. That is how far the baskets program has fallen. Look, I don't think I'm going to disagree with that. I've said going back weeks ago that not even comparing what the teams would do on the floor against each other, but just the general enjoyment that the teams provide. Like those last few Bruce teams, I was still interested in the product and invested in a way that I thought there could be value moving forward. I went out of my way to go watch one of their last games against Iowa State that season and still had optimism or looked forward to watching them and turning on those games. Like I enjoyed watching that last Bruce team. I haven't enjoyed watching K-State basketball the last 2 years, this year and last year, and really a lot of that, year prior. Now, some of that not totally the fault of like how the roster was initially envisioned, but again, we know the problems that came in year two, and it was created by the decisions that Jerome Tang made on who he trusted to build his roster around. So I think that's something to keep in mind. And then the other thing from Tom was, what type of players will Tang get next year when the NIL drastically is reduced? Well, it's a great question for one. The other question would be, given where the last two seasons went, he obviously still got a lot of support this past season. So I would love to know that the people that are directly funding basketball, are they going to stop or are they going to continue to do this? Because this is where the people that talk about the buyout stuff, if you do get into that in any way, like, why are you wasting a couple of millions of dollars on a basketball roster that it doesn't really matter who it's going to be? The team's going to flail and be bad anyways. Just, bite the bullet now and make the move that you want to make if you think it's not going to work out. So I think that there is probably going to be a reduced budget to work with there in some way, or at least you would think. I mean, honestly,
you would think so.
And I know some people are going to say, well, could you take some of that and give it to football? Here's why that doesn't realistically happen. And that's because in the way that you want to fund these things as a major program, you are going to have this budget set and prove, hey, we're spending at this level. And you can't really, especially in a sport like football, where we just talked about all the guys with multiple years of eligibility left that just came in, and high school recruits, even if they're going to leave at some point, typically stay at least 2 or 3 years. You can't have a year really where, the football budget NIL wise, especially if you're taken from the rev share where it increases by a significant margin. And then it's like, okay, we're docking it right now, but in a year or two, if we have somebody new in basketball, we're putting them back at the normal level. You can't really do that. So I mean, maybe you could do it in a 1-to-1 type of sport. So if you wanted to just go all in on women's basketball or baseball and say, hey, we're going to go out and give X amount to whoever. But yeah, and to Jared's point right here, why would any good player want to come play for Tank? Look, I think we're already kind of seeing this, where even the good players or the players with some talent that he's bringing in right now they have some serious flaws. Like PJ Haggerty is undoubtedly a really good player, but he's not the kind of player that necessarily can be the true number one that can take a team above at this level. And I mentioned it, I think, on a show last week, but like what PJ Haggerty's doing right now for K-State, it could absolutely work to help Memphis win basketball games, but it's not going to get it done at the power conference level. And that's the position that K-State's in right now. So yeah, I don't think there are going to be a lot of, there may be players with talent that will still come play for Jerome Tang. We are seeing that with some of them. But if you're serious about trying to win basketball games, I don't think that you're going to get those types of players. And again, the only reason you got them in year one was because you kind of got lucky. And yes, Pigeon, the basement is in the process of being finished, and so when the kids are sleeping, I am in the unfinished basement to do the show. So yeah, hopefully by next basketball season, you will not see a bunch of boxes behind me.
Hopefully by football season we don't.
Well, yeah, shoot. I mean, hopefully sometime in the summer we're doing KSL Classic and it's a lot better. But anyways, yeah. So there's where it sits right now. Any other questions that people have? Get them in. Final questions. We'll take them and we'll try to discuss them before we get out. If you're on a longer show than I anticipated tonight, but this is just kind of the funny part of where things sit for K-State basketball right now, is that so many of these problems that they have are not game to game related, but they are bigger overall pictures that can be discussed and provide fascinating conversation.
Yeah, I mean that's just where this is at, and I mean it's sad because I'm just like thinking about this of like what we talked about on Saturday. The only way that it can get better is if you flip the whole roster, and there's not going to be much buy-in from anyone about a new roster coming in after you've already done it 3 times in a row. Like, what, you're going to get it right the 4th time? Like that's just kind of where it's at. Don't forget, you're a wanted man for some hot dogs.
Yeah, don't worry, Carter. Sunday, for real, it's happening. Like I said, first 5 to come see me on Sunday at the game, I will give you $6. You can go buy a hot dog at Bramlage and then just have 50 cents
I'm
to
I'm
go
sad.
with it.
I'm sad that I won't be here to or be there to witness that. Because I still think you should make everybody answer a trivia question.
No. It's first come, first serve. So I am going to have to come up with some way, though, for people to know that, hey, it's been done or something. Where I can't just have one person come up and go, hey, and I say, tough, already gave them out, and it's like the first person. I just didn't want to give away $30 in hot dogs, but nope, I'm a man of my word. So first 5 to see me. K-State's 1 win against Utah earned you a free hot dog on me. So we will do that. And there we go. So we'll be done for tonight, thankfully. Long ways to go. Still at least 11 more games in basketball season for K-State.
One will be at the Big 12 tournament. We love the Big 12 tournament.
Yeah. It's just a real shame that nothing enjoyable K-State related has gone on at the Big 12 tournament recently. We'll get out of here for tonight. Tomorrow, Drew and I back talking K-State football. Some movement in the latest rivals rankings, actually the final rivals rankings for the 2026 class. So we'll get into some of that, touch on a couple of new 4-stars for the Cats in that class, and a few other recruiting tidbits. We already did a recruiting update this week, but we're already starting to get some more kind of rolling in. So it'll be a fun day tomorrow to talk about all of that, and that'll be it for tonight. So for Drew Galloway, I'm Mason Voth. Thanks for watching and listening. Next KSO Postgame Live, Sunday after K-State, Iowa State in Bramlage. Fans supposed to be back with us. So the man that you all come to actually consume, he will be back on Sunday. and he's going to buy his own hot dog at the game against Iowa State.